This is Sydney Blanchard with your NFR lineup. I have number 13th qualifier, Amberleigh Moore, on the line. Amber, you went into the final week of the season on the bubble. You managed to scrape into 13th place with 89,001, and you only went to 47 rodeos. Now, I know that wasn't your plan, so tell us a little bit about your season.
Well, it started out really good. Beginning of the year, we headed out to Texas, and we won. Paige and I won Fort Worth. We went on to San Angelo, and we won it. Went back to San Antonio, which she had won the year before, and we placed second. So we were on a roll, doing quite well. We went to Houston. Actually picked up $7,000 at Houston. Thought everything was going good. Headed home, kind of figured out she was getting a little bit sore, and went and had her checked and found out that we needed to take some time off. So Paige got to have 4.5 months off right in the most crucial part of the season.
How did you deal with that? What was your next plan of attack?
Well, at that point, I had 72,001, and everybody was kept on telling me, "Oh, you're good, you're fine, you'll get her back, it'll be an easy year, you know, you made it with 79,000, it'll be good." Well, as I was watching it, it was good. And then you start watching the numbers, and they were getting bigger, and they were getting bigger. And then it was just a waiting game, waiting for my horse to come back. I had borrowed some horses and rode some of my young ones, but without your number one, it's not quite the same.
And it was rough for you this year. I talked to you right before Calgary, and you were trying to find a horse that would be remotely competitive there. Because if you basically could have had the NFR made after Calgary if you had won 2 rounds.
What did we do at Calgary? We went up and we had fun. I took my own horses. I borrowed a horse of a friend. She didn't like the fact that the ground was wet, which she didn't want me running in wet ground, which I understood. And so I ended up jump riding some friends' horses up in Canada that were offered to me. And it ended up being a good time no matter what, because I rode horses I'd never rode, and they did good for me.
Were you at any point in time wanting to bring Paige back for that big of an event?
No, it was offered to me. My vets gave me the offer that I could take her to Calgary, but if I would wait at least 2 or 3 more weeks, I would be better off. And I took the deep breath, and I said, okay, we'll wait 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm glad I did, because come around August 1st, when they told me to go, first weekend I took her out, she won Heber City. So, yeah, I might not have had her for Calgary, but it was worth the wait.
Now, hindsight's 2020, so we can look back and say, oh yes, I made all the right decisions. But you and I both know that it's not that easy when you're right there in the heat of the moment trying to figure out what to do. So talk about that and tell people a little bit about the struggle that you went through and the difficulty. And we all know it worked out great for you, but I think that people end up losing faith, and that's when they go home, and that's why they don't achieve their dreams. So give us all a little pep talk about that.
Well, actually, it all was more when I got Paige back, because after being off for 4.5 months, we either would go out and we'd win and smoke a run, or we would go out at our timing and to be off. So coming into September, we had tipped a few too many barrels because we weren't together. After 4 months, we weren't a team anymore. So we had to get our act back together. And so at that point, yeah, it was getting disappointing because Paige doesn't hit barrels. She doesn't make mistakes. And now we're coming back after a 4.5 month break, and she's either winning or we're making mistakes. And yeah, that takes a toll on you because you're not sure what you're doing or what's going wrong. And you start second guessing yourself.
What did you do to overcome that guessing?
Honestly, after Puyallup, I came home and I spent 2 days working a field to plant grass because I was just at my wit's end, not knowing whether to go, whether to stay, what was going on. And that's what I did. I spent 2 days on my tractor just thinking about what I needed to do. And then I reminded myself when it was time, I was like 2 days away from heading to Texas to do that last 2-week run, that I'd always told myself after 16 that I would never chase it again because it takes a lot to go out there and chase that last push. But then I reminded myself I wasn't chasing it. I was the one being chased. And I'd better get myself back out on the road and protect my spot.
That's absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad to hear that because I talked to you right before Puyallup, and you were so down about, the random rule change and the way they were running it, and you did so well the year before. You had done well throughout the entire year, and you were in the top 15 of the standings at that point, but you were not invited to Puyallup. So a lot of the girls behind you were invited to Puyallup. And how much did Puyallup pay this year? I mean, that was a huge bump in the standings.
I think Jimmy Smith went in there and won like $26,000 that weekend.
Yes.
So it was huge.
Tell us about how you felt, going into that week where you were unable to compete at one of the largest rodeos at the end of the season.
Well, like everybody else, I entered it on the chance that I might get to go, and got the call back that I was ineligible to run. So 24 hours before the rodeo starts, I get the next phone call. Oh, so-and-so turned out. Would you like to go to Puyallup? So now I've got to flip modes and head to Puyallup. I ended up turning out of 3 rodeos I was entered in. So I didn't get to go on my plan, which maybe I should have because I went to Puyallup and ended up tipping the third barrel. So that was another stepping stone of, going, okay, did I make the right decision? Did I not make the right decision? Because I had a plan A and a plan B, and I went with plan B, which was Puyallup, and then it didn't pay off.
So I know I talked to you a little bit, and you were really missing your family, and you said, my family they're all going to the lake. I'm out here busting the pavement. What kept you out and driving, and is the NFR for you worth it?
My dad, my niece helped me that last 2 weeks, said, let's go. Let's hit the road. Let's finish this. Because it was an emotional roller coaster all the way from April until September with everything that went on. And so is it worth it? Yeah, in the end, it's worth it. But those 9 months, it's hard. Being away from home and being away from your family, being away from your other animals. You hear about your family having birthday parties and doing this and doing that, and you're off and gone. And so you're missing a large part of life going on at home, out chasing your dream. At the end, everybody's happy when you head to Vegas and they get to go with you. So it pays off in the end, but you also you also lose a lot.
Allie, what is your favorite time during the season?
My favorite, I don't know, last year was when we got there for morning practice, and my horses made me laugh because they got out of the trailer and they looked around and they knew immediately where they were. Paige, when I went to walk up for morning practice, she perked up. She was like, I know where I'm at. And she took me to the arena. So that feeling of knowing how excited they are to be where they are, I think that feels pretty good. Knowing that they're excited to be there as much as you are.
And the Thomas and Mack is definitely Paige's arena. So you have to feel very confident going into this year's NFR.
Well, after trying to fall off in round 1 and knowing how Paige feels right now and that she is locked on, all I know is I better hang on and use my saddle horn because I think she's going to go give me a ride, and I better be ready for it. I'm going to leave it at that. How's that?
Tell us about your relationship with Paige because, watching you warm up and get ready for your run with Paige, you guys have that unique relationship together, and I think that really contributes to how much you win.
Paige is very particular in her way. I mean, everything has to be done the same way every single time, and so it's probably good I'm her person so that I understand that. And after we run, you have to get back to the trailer. You don't get to talk. You don't get to visit. She wants to get back to her friends, I guess, so she can tell them what she's done. And then she takes her deep breath, and then she comes back to Paige. So I'm glad I'm her person so that I can take care of her in the manner Princess needs to be taken care of.
Paige is by Dark Kelly, and I know that you have some other horses coming up by the same stallion. Do you think that those skull attributes are from that stallion? Do you see a consistency in that?
My other ones that I have are all pretty laid back, but I've had them since they were, yearlings on my brain. So they have a little bit different demeanor. Paige was raised up in Montana, and I think she had a little bit of a rough start, so she's pretty needy and pretty dependent. So I think that makes a difference in that. But my other ones are all pretty laid back and pretty easygoing.
And tell us a little bit more about the ones that you have coming up, because I watched you run a 1D time on a colt at Glenrose at the beginning of this year. Horse, something that you've brought up the rest of the year, and are you taking him as a backup?
Well, the filly that you watch in Glenrose, that's Jules, and she is by First Down French. She's not a dark Kelly. And she is coming as a backup to help me out and do grand entry. My two dark Kellys I got coming up right now are both 4-year-olds, so they're next year maturity colts. And they're coming on wonderful. They are natural, they take to it easy, and they're both running, 1D, 2D right now, just playing. So 10 more days and we'll get to start entering those babies up and see where they're at.
And how are you doing that? So are you right now still going hard on your colts, getting them ready for the futurity season come January, as well as trying to get ready for the NFR?
Basically, that's what I've been doing for the past 2 months, is just taking my colts out and riding them and bringing Paige along and maybe letting her make a run and playing on her. But mainly my focus has been keeping those colts rode and getting them exposed, because all summer they hauled with me, but most of the time they sat. So right now it's been their time, and I've stepped off of them, and now they get to have the next 3 weeks off until after Vegas, and then we'll get back to work on them.
And how do you go from training mode to competition mode? Because Vegas, you have to be spot on as if it's the middle of the 4th of July.
I've rode colts my whole entire life and transitioned back and forth. So for me, it's an easy deal. It's easy to do, because I game and I go to shows like that, play days, and I might ride 3 or 4 horses in one day in multiple events. So it's normal to be jumping from horse to horse to horse and have to readjust myself.
What's your plan for this year going into the finals? Do you have specific goals?
My number one goal is to come out with a healthy, happy, sound horse. And that's the number one goal, to go in, have fun, let Paige do her job, see where the cards fall, and come out with a healthy horse.
Place you come into Vegas, you are a contender for a world title. Do you feel that way?
When I came in 16, I had no idea what we were going to do. Last year, I tried to follow up on round 1, had some difficulties, still had a good time, won some rounds, made money. You know what? You never know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to predict the future. I'm just going to see what happens with everybody else.
So you're just going to roll in there and enjoy yourself and enjoy the moment.
Exactly.
Just real quick, if you have any advice for, other girls trying to make the finals, or just somebody that's aspiring to be a professional barrel racer, what is your best advice for them?
To never give up, to keep trying, to believe in yourself, because anything is possible. You just have to believe in yourself that you can do it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Amber.
You're welcome.